freedom, opportunity, leadership. Each one as American as science. That's right, science. From the battlefields of our independence to the launch pads of our future, American science. Discovery funded by the federal government, driven to products by industry, and put to work across the country has always led the nation forward. It feeds families, defends borders, cures children, puts rockets in the sky, and the world at our fingertips. And the best part, it's not done. American science is still driving more breakthroughs, more jobs, more lives saved. But right now, there's a debate whether to keep our science funded or cut it back. So let's be clear, nothing is more American than believing and investing in a more powerful, prosperous future. Keep American science funded and keep America strong.
Paid for by United for Science.
Hey, it's Jeff Zito, and thanks for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, number 2 this week on the Apple Podcast Music Interviews chart. Yes, thank you so much for that. Streaming on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. And please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating, and please leave a review. Follow on Instagram, celebrity_jobber_podcast. You can also go to youtube.com/the@celebrityjobber. And of course, to check out past guests and episodes, you could do so online at celebrityjobber.com. Who were these people before they were famous? You know, most of the time, if not all the time, they were regular, ordinary people. As Rocky Balboa would call them, ham and egger, average Joe, working stiff. And in a lot of cases, it's a big break. You know, sometimes there's a gradual success that leads them to fame, but sometimes it is a phone call or a moment. And my guest today has a few moments that kind of propelled him to the next level, but also it was some gradual success. And I feel like I have a lot in common with my guest this week. We're about to hear what he did before stand-up comedy, his first job. We'll find out about his parents growing up, maybe that phone call that changed his life, maybe another career path he may have been heading in before comedy kind of became his full-time gig, and a lot more. I can tell you that much. Get ready. He's a regular on Gutfeld, the #1 late-night TV show in America. He is comedian Jamie Lissow, and my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Let me just start off by saying, Jamie, I am a big fan of yours. And don't take that. I'm not creepy. I'm not going to write you strange letters. But,
I appreciate it, man.
Probably a couple, maybe 6 months ago, I think like a lot of people, I started watching Gutfeld regularly, and you and Joe Mackey are definitely my wife's favorite guests on Gutfeld. So you've been going on that show for a little bit of time now, though, right?
Yes, and I really appreciate it. I love Joe Mackey. Joe's my favorite comedian. Myself.
He's hilarious, but you also have a very kind of a similar thing. I mean, he's got more lovers, it seems like, but you guys have a similar sense of humor, shall I say?
Hey, I appreciate that. Joe's the best, man. He's one of the nicest ladies I've ever met. And no, I'm sorry. By the way, I love him. He writes.
He does. The very first time I saw him, I had to look a little bit. But that's funny.
Yeah, when I first met him, I thought he was the king of the ventriloquist dolls. And I go, I think this guy. By the way, I don't say this out of nowhere. Joe Mackey writes the funniest, meanest intros for me.
Right.
So we're good buddies, and we have a green light to make fun of each other. other at all times, just for anybody.
Well, I mean, Gutfeld is mean to you, and I know that in comedy it's okay. There's some kind of I guess an unwritten law or some kind of code between you guys, but I'm just being serious right now. I don't really like when he talks about your kids and gets into that world, and I sometimes look at you and your face. I'm just saying, I don't think he appreciates that humor. Am I right?
I do appreciate the empathy. I'll tell you what, I feel like because I kind of have an incredible situation with my kids, like, they're starting to travel with me. I think if Greg thought there was any actual issue, he would never make a joke about it. But because he knows my kids are like kind of used to, we all live in Alaska. I don't know if you knew that portion of it, but a lot of Alaska dads are not there all of the time because they work on the pipeline or they're in the military. So it's very normal for a kid growing up in Alaska to have a dad that travels. And for some reason, ever since I got divorced, when people are going through divorces, man, I get hit up a lot because I'm like the divorced dad. I get hit up with guys going like, I don't know if I can do this, man. I'm going to miss my kids so much. And I always tell them, when you get divorced, man, there's a lot of amazing things that happen with you and your kids. Like now your time with them is truly your own, and there's no strained relationship, and there's no one telling you how to parent. And it might be less time with them, but I feel like the quality is higher. And I know Greg kind of knows. He knows the kid. He's met them all. I think because he knows everything's cool, he makes those jokes. I feel like he wouldn't do it if it was an actual like touchy subject.
Right.
He would never. Dude, you just made me think of a radio story. Do you want to hear a radio story?
Absolutely.
So I feel like what people don't like when you're watching a Comedy Central roast, you're expecting everyone to roast everyone. And I think sometimes it surprises people when he makes fun of, failed relationships or whatever, because it's technically not a roast. We're just like on Gutfeld, but it's kind of like his thing. And dude, one time, so I used to do morning radio as we were talking about off the air. One time, I was the only comedian on the air. It was like radio guys and me. And so they would always hit me up when there was some sort of event or something where I could do comedy. And we had one of those radio Christmas parties, right? And so they go, hey, we're having the big radio Christmas party. Are you going? I go, yeah, I'll stop by, And the big, like the head, I believe he's still ahead of I think like a whole coast of Clear Channel or iHeartRadio now.
Right.
So like a pretty big deal in iHeartRadio calls me. And he goes, dude, I think it'd be so funny if you went up, we're doing little speeches. He goes, if you went up and did like a little bit of a roast. And so I go, okay. And so I write some jokes and then I get there. And it's taken a long time for me to get on stage. And the entire time I'm drinking wine. I'm pretty funny after like maybe a sip, but it was like delayed. And so I'm probably like 2 wines in and I'm looking at some jokes. I was like, I probably shouldn't do that one. And now I'm like, oh, I'm definitely doing that one. And so I get up there and, we had this, I was just telling some jokes, and we had like this AM guy that was super conservative that had like a pretty high voice. And I remember I said something like, man, this guy Bob Lonsberry, he's the greatest, he's my friend. And I go, I don't know if you've ever heard his impression of a gay guy, but he does it weekdays from 12 to 3 on 12. And I'm just like, just poking fun at people. And then there was this one guy who had a rapport for not doing a lot of work. Right. Like he was always at the gym. He was always avoiding work. By the way, I swear to God, this is a true story. And I said something like, his name is Frank. And I go, if they brought Frank into the office and told him he was fired, he would probably say, exactly what is it that you want me to stop doing? I said something like that. Right. And dude, so as I'm going on, I realize every person that I'm targeting, I'm slowly losing the audience. Like everyone I talk about, them and their families stop laughing. And then like I make fun of somebody else and and I realize this isn't a roast. It was only afterwards that I was like, this guy had me go up at a Christmas party and just roast people that did not sign up for a roast. Right. They were just with their families at Christmas. And I remember feeling like kind of bad about it afterwards. And I went to work on Monday. They fired Frank.
No way.
They fired Frank because so many people laughed because we all knew he didn't do anything, that they dug into it. They're like, why did everybody laugh? No one would have laughed if I said Zeno. Like if I said, but because they laughed so hard, they go, there must be some truth to this. Poor Frank got fired because of my dumb joke.
Jamie, this is one of the most incredible. I'm just something is really weird here between us because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm that guy. It all started about 15 or 20 years ago at the group that I work with. And it's a family-owned group. It's now, a publicly traded company. But the general manager, who was in the family of owners, said to me, Zito, would you go up there, man, and do a little, roast? Because that was when, like, roasting was, like, kind of a new thing. So it was probably right around the time and I did the exact same thing. Had a couple of vinos, but mine went over pretty well. Mine went over well to where they thought I was great, and then they would each and every year they would have me, roast them more and more, and then each year I would get a little bit more. The general manager was in rehab, so I made sure I made some joke referencing to But anyway, the parallels between us. Amazing. So let's get back to before comedy, you were in the radio business. So how is that what you wanted to do when you got out of college, or is that what you studied to do?
Well, so I did not. So radio was kind of like in the middle of my comedy career. So it was sort of like I started out, I wanted to be a comedian since I was not even kidding you, since I did not know it was a job. It feels like almost like a calling, where the first time I saw a Rodney Dangerfield special, young comedians, I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm supposed to do that. Just like a weird feeling.
Right.
And then I remember finding out later in life, not even kidding. I remember like me and my friends would go, what do you want to be when you grow up? And someone's like, I want to be a ninja. I want to be a princess. And I realized mine was the only job you could actually pursue. It was like an actual job.
Right.
And so I always wanted to do that. And then I actually started doing radio. I used to listen to the Brother Wease radio show,
big
show in upstate New York.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know those guys, but we used to simulcast with Opie and Anthony back in the day on Fridays. Opie started on Wease. And so
I've been on Jocktober before.
Jocktober. Oh yeah. And then I ended up just our first kid was being born, me and my ex-wife, and so I decided to take a year off, and they offered me the job as the comedian on Weeze's show, and I was like, wow, I used to listen to that show, and it's in my hometown of Rochester, New York, and I go, let me just go back when we have this baby, and I did it for like 5 years, and it was I think upon it very fondly, and it made me appreciate radio, but then also appreciate stand-up, like when I went back.
Right.
Celebrity Jobber. The Celebrity Jobber podcast with Jeff Zito.
Okay, so you were already doing stand-up. So tell me, you went to college. You wanted to be a comedian since you were a kid. You go to college, you get out of college. Then how do you get into stand-up? How do you break into stand-up right out of school?
Dude, I'm doing like open mics. And I'm not even kidding you. Summer before, I'm going to law school. Got into law school, taking a summer off.
Now we're getting
and I go,
somewhere.
I'm going to like try this. I'm going to try this stand-up thing and see how it goes. And I just started making like $50 and a room at a Days Inn, or like half price bowling and $20 or whatever. And I'm just like, I can't even believe this is real. Like, I can't believe they're paying me to do this. And I remember going to law school, and I got my first feature spot making $75 at some bar. And I remember thinking, if I go to law school, I'm going to come out of here with all these loans. I got to be a lawyer to pay off these loans.
Right.
I'm going to start in the hole like $300,000. And so I was like, man, maybe I should take a year off. But I was already moved in. Classes were starting the next day, and I just didn't know, can you even do this? Like, is this something can I even leave? Can I quit law school? So I drove home 2 hours to my parents' house. And I didn't really talk to my parents that much about anything serious. And so it took everything I had in me to drive back home. And my dad was on the couch, he was reading the paper, and I went up to him and I go, dude, I don't know what to do, because I'm having like these second thoughts and I want to try comedy. And my dad, I only looking back has this really been sort of like set in stone in my mind, but he goes, hey, let's go get your stuff from law school. I think you should try being a comedian for a year. You'll always regret it.
Wow.
And he drove me to law school. We moved out, and then that was 28 years ago. It's been my only job.
I was going to say to you, how disappointed was your father when you had a conversation with him saying, Dad, I want to quit law school to become a stand-up comedian. I can tell you how that would go over in my house, but he was supportive.
He wasn't. Only looking back did I realize what terrible parenting that was. But it was pretty wild, man. I think back on it, and I honestly think, like, if he doesn't do that in that moment, I don't think I'm talking to you right now.
No, you're not.
I don't think I'm I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Well, if you weren't talking to me right now, I don't know how different your life would actually be. Let me ask this though. Okay, so where did being a lawyer come into play? Was it you always wanted to be a comedian in the back of your mind, but you needed a backup plan, and you thought that was a good backup plan, or were you a good arguer with your brothers and sisters, or how did law come into the play here?
Shit, I'm gonna tell you the honest truth. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to do with my life. And I had a drinking buddy, and he was a year ahead of me at school. And we used to just drink beers and hang out all the time. And one day I went to his house. We were in college together, and he goes, I can't really party anymore. I'm studying for the LSAT, the law school admissions test.
Right.
And I go, dude, I'll help you study. I'll have a couple of beers. I'll help you study. So we started studying for this LSAT. The LSAT is a very fun test.
Really?
Like it's logic games, and I thought it would be super boring. It's very interesting, and it's like logic tests and all this weird stuff. And when he took the law school exam, he was like, dude, you should take it. He's like, you've been here every minute of the day studying with me. Why don't you take it? And we both got the same score. And it was pretty good, and that's the only reason I went to law school. So because I had like this LSAT.
So you have to take the LSAT first to get into law school, correct?
Yep.
And then there's another test, the bar, that you have to take after you graduate. So how far in this okay, so you pass the LSAT, you go, oh, this is kind of a fun test. That you go to law school, then how close were you from graduating and taking the bar?
I'm going to be honest. I was at law school for 1 week.
Okay.
I was at law school for 1 week. It was in and out. I don't think I could have done it. One quick week.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Okay. So Dad really wasn't that disappointed. I mean, he didn't have time to, emotionally get attached to his son being a successful attorney, Oh,
yeah, I think some people go, man, he must have had this belief in you when he let you do that. And I was like, I think he had a belief that I couldn't be a lawyer. I think was more a part of it.
Oh, that's funny.
I think that was more of the...
So, Jamie, what about your parents? What kind of occupations did your mom and dad have?
All right, this is going to sound like a comedy bit, and I never talk about this, but I swear to God it's not. My mom was a nun, and my dad was studying to be a priest.
You got to be kidding.
And they both, I swear to God, and I have no material about this, and they basically ran into each other at some religious event and started writing letters to each other and decided to take a break from their respective careers to see if they could have a relationship, and they ended up getting together. And my mom dropped out of the nunnery. I don't know if you drop out of the nunnery. I don't know if that's what it's called.
Well, they definitely sinned if you came into the picture. That's for sure, right?
Yeah, I think she got separated from Christ. I don't know what they say, but yeah. But then they decided to just kind of do some stuff on their own, and then my dad became a guidance counselor, and my mom was a substitute teacher.
Okay, and, so they had regular jobs. There's nobody that was a comedian in the family, and actually they had they were both religious people and going into the world of God there for a minute, and wow, that Jamie, it
sounds like a bit. Yeah,
your whole story seems completely made up. Yeah.
The only way I'm telling the truth is I have no jokes about it. I have nothing. I've never been able to find, because I think the problem with it is I've tried to talk about it on stage. I think everyone thinks I'm lying. Right. It's so crazy. It's almost like if you're talking to the crowd and someone gives you too funny of a response, you kind of have nothing.
Right.
Like if you go, there's a doctor in the crowd and you go, what do you do for a living? And he says gynecologist. For some reason, it's almost too good.
Right.
It's like too good. Like you can't work with it. But yeah, true. All true stories. And my dad was the funniest man in the world to me and to a lot of other people. And I will say, I did not know until I was much older. I heard Jon Stewart say something cool about this one day. He said a lot of comedians, they realize that their default in their mind is to do a joke. So like no matter what happens in your whole life, the first thought you have, even if someone goes, oh, this person died, if somebody goes, oh, that truck has a sign on it, your default is to do a joke. And he was saying like, he thought everyone was like that. So did I. Like at my house, the default was a joke. And then later on in life, I would go to other people's houses and I was like, why is no one doing comedy? Right. Because that's all we do at my house. Like the default. Wow. My kids are constantly, dude, I was just home 2 nights ago. I got a 10-year-old and I got a 14-year-old, and the 14-year-old wanted to tell a story for bedtime. And she tells this made up story that just, Sandler has the best bit where he says, you know how people say with kids, like it goes by so fast? He goes, yeah, unless they're telling you a story. And it slows down. It's one of my favorite Sandler bits. And she was telling this incredibly long story. Like it was so long and I just wanted to go to sleep. And when she finished, my 10-year-old said, if that story was a movie, it would be called The Never-Ending Story.
He's got.
And I'm
the
like,
gift.
dude, this is like the radio Christmas party.
That's right.
This is not a roast. We're just going to sleep.
Your family has the gift. That's incredible.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Celebrity Jobber.
Jamie, what about your very first job ever? What was it?
I believe, I mean, if you don't count paper route, which I had many paper routes, I would say my first actual job, I worked at Arby's when I was 14 years old. And it was one of the best periods of my life. I ended up getting all my friends' jobs at Arby's. My sister worked at Arby's. It was me and all of my friends. And back in the day, nobody went to Arby's. I don't know if they do now.
I don't think they do go to Arby's, but I do see an incredible amount of commercials. We got the meats all the time, but I don't ever see any cars in the parking lot when I pass the Arby's.
Yeah, it was so dead. When I worked there, the slogan was, we're throwing away the meats that nobody bought. That was the end of the day.
Is the there was an old wives' tale, and I don't know if it's true, but I'm talking to somebody that used to work at Arby's. They used to say it used to come in like a mixture, and then the mixture was baked into the oven, and then that was the roast beef. That's been debunked, hasn't it?
Oh, interesting. So it's not that far from the truth that I experienced. It wasn't a mixture, but it was definitely a mysterious lump of meat. It was like it looked like a giant thumb tip, and they were in the freezer, and it almost looked like a tiny gravestone, and you would put it on the slicer and slice it up into roast beef. But I don't know what the consistency was. I don't want us to get sued. I can't confirm or deny if it was just like regular roast beef, but it was definitely. You wouldn't be able to identify the cut of meat,
right?
If you went in the cooler.
What about a big break? How about I think I can guess, but was there a moment that everything changed in your life? And was it recent? And when did you walk down the street and not necessarily Beatlemania, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. I still don't know if I've had the moment yet, but I
think you have.
So I'll give you two kind of cool ones. I'll give you the first one because it's a radio relate. So I was on morning radio and comedians would call in like I'm calling you. And one day I'm there and I'm tired and Rob Schneider's calling in because he's promoting a show that weekend. And I'm very excited. Like I am a huge Rob Schneider fan at the time. I can't even believe this guy's calling in. I'm so excited just to hear his voice. And he calls up and he's hilarious and he crushes and whatever. And our host used to interrupt people all the time. That was like his biggest Achilles heel, was people would complain he was interrupting them. And I remember I called out our host for the first time ever, and I go, dude, let Rob Schneider finish his bit, please, for God's sake. And I was doing it in a joking way, but Rob, at the end of the interview, goes, who's that guy? Who's that guy that let me finish my bit? And they go, oh, that's Jamie. He's a comedian. Rob was on the phone. And he goes, hey, Jamie. And I go, yeah. And he goes, why don't you come open for me this weekend?
You've got to be kidding me.
No. And I go, what? And so the next night I'm at this theater at a college in upstate New York and I'm opening for Rob Schneider and I'm like freaking out. And I ended up they came up to me. It was a college theater, and they go, "Hey, there's this like group on campus. They're an improv group, and they just kind of got together, and they want to do like 20 minutes before you go up." Dude, let me tell you something. If there is comedy in heaven, you get to follow an improv group that has never performed together before,
Right.
because they were bombing. I mean, people, I remember they were on stage and they were like, "Give me an occupation." No, seriously, I need one.
Right.
Like they were a terrible.
Oh my God.
And so I went up, and they were kids, they were new. So I went up and just set of my life, man, just murdered. The whole crowd was like, "Oh my God, prepared material." And I get off stage, and Rob was there, and he goes, "Hey man, don't go anywhere after my show. I want to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." So I sat in the crowd, and I do this thing where I write jokes for comedians, like if I'm watching them.
Right.
And so I wrote him like 30 jokes when I was watching a set. And I get off stage, and he was like, "Hey man, maybe we could do something together." And I go, I wrote you 30 jokes when I was sitting here. And he was like, "What?" And I gave him these jokes, and he was like, "I just got back into stand-up. I need a writer." And he goes, "Why don't we talk once a week, and you can write for me, and I'll pay you and everything." And then fast forward, man, when I got I don't know if people know this, but no one gives their 2 weeks notice in radio. You just go in one day and the doors are locked.
Right.
And so when that happened to me, I called Rob, and he goes, "Dude, let's do a show on Netflix. Let's write a show and get it on Netflix." And he just said that, and we ended up doing it.
Yeah,
it was just him saying, "Let's make this happen."
That's I'm telling you. Have you ever talked about all these things at once? I mean, because the whole thing, this seems like a movie. You know what that movie is? I'll tell you what the movie is. It's called Funny People with Adam Sandler. And
That's right.
Remember, he was a stand-up. He was writing jokes for
That's
Adam
right.
Sandler. He hired him, and it was it's same kind of concept. You have a movie. Let me write your movie. Maybe this could be my big. Maybe this.
Dude, this could be your moment. You could tell this story.
I'm thinking to myself, because I don't know if you think this is going well or not, Jamie, but I kind of do. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, you know what? This could be my big break. Maybe I just hitch myself to this guy's wagon.
Dude, why don't you come open for me in Port Charlotte? Come on, this could be a whole thing. By the way, for your listeners and your sake, I am skipping giant gaps of complete failure in my story. Just to kind of sew it together.
But Jamie, I tell you what, man, I am a big fan of your comedy. I watch Gutfeld, and congratulations on all your success. Keep riding it out. You seem like a regular kind of guy. What do you?
Yeah, man. I feel like a regular guy. I feel no different than I did before. And dude, by the way, my second part of my big break situation was me and Gutfeld got together 20 years ago.
I interrupted. That's it. That's why.
Dude,
I'm done. I'm out.
You're totally fine, man. You're fine. It's not even a great story, but just to give Gutfeld some credit, I used to be on Red Eye all the time, and it was a show that like not a lot of people watched. Middle of the night, kind of had like a cult following. Then I started working with Schneider. And then I got to thank Schneider, because I think that's how I got back on the radar of Gutfeld. Like Gutfeld always wanted me on, but I think this added a little bit more fuel to the fire, knowing that I had like a show on Netflix and stuff. And he had me back on his new show. And dude, I had no idea. I did Red Eye, his old show, 50 times. No one ever bought a ticket to come see me do comedy. I just did his show. It was just fun. And so when I started doing the new show, the first weekend after I did the new show, I was opening for Schneider, and they told me 60 people bought tickets to see Schneider, and I was the opener from hearing me on Gutfeld. Wow. I was just the opener, and 60 people came. And so I called Greg and I said, "How often can I be on this program? Because this is crazy." And so I feel like the second break was Greg's new show and being a regular on there. And that's how pretty much all my crowds know me. Pretty much it's 90% Gutfeld.
Yeah,
a few stragglers from the Netflix show, but I gotta give it to that man.
Yeah, and when did the Gutfeld? I mean, I remember Red Eye. We were just talking about that the other day. And when did the new Gutfeld show kind of kick in? Was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so I wasn't at the very beginning. It's funny, man. He asked me a couple times, like, "Oh, I got a new show, you got to come on." And I was writing me and Schneider wrote a movie during COVID, and so we like wrote and produced this movie. And I kept telling Greg, like, "Man, I'd love to get down there, but I'm in Alaska. I'm working on this movie." And so I kept, not blowing it off, but definitely not giving it as much attention as it deserved. And when I was finally on, I was like, "What have I been doing? This guy's got the number one TV show." I think it started about maybe 4 years ago, and I've been a part of it for about 3 years. Next week will be my 150th appearance on the show. Wow. And it just seems like That seems crazy to even say. I feel like it was yesterday that I got on for the first time. But yeah, we're at like 150 now. So it's been like 3 years.
Celebrity Jobber. The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
Is it something, I mean, is it just a show that you go on? I wanted to ask this because, you know, I feel like it's a political show. It's on a political channel. And I feel like everybody that's on that show pretty much is a conservative. So does that affect your comedy when you're touring somewhere, I don't know, in like some woke city? Do they even book you, or do you alter your comedy when you travel to places like you're reading the room, right? You're like, okay, this is Seattle. I'm probably not going to tell any MAGA jokes here. But how does that go through your mind?
I'm very glad you asked that question, because I at first was like pretty political when I would do my tour, because it was all Gutfeld fans, and it was kind of fun, man. It was like having everybody on the same team, and we would do this and that. And then somewhere along the line, after I kind of got that out of my system and did that for a year or so, I remembered that like I had a half-hour special and I did the Tonight Show before I was ever political at all. Like I was a stand-up first. And I started thinking about like friends would want to come to the show that were on the other side of politics. People that I loved, that just we disagreed politically, but people I absolutely loved. And I decided that my new tour was going to be, if you walk in off the street and you are a huge liberal, you will have a good time. Like you will leave after an hour and go, man, I'm glad we went in there. And so my act now, this is also what I love about Joe Mackey. I think we prioritize comedy. Of all the comedians that are on there, I think we go, if I have a great point to make and I have kind of a good joke, I'll do the joke instead. Like I feel like a lot of people on the channel are smarter than me. Everyone's heard everyone's take already. They don't need my take on this same topic. They know what I'm going to say. So I feel like I just prioritize comedy. And I feel like that's what's translated to selling out shows in Florida, because it's a night out with maybe your wife or your girlfriend, and you got a babysitter, and we're going to have 90% Gutfeld fans, but we're going to have 10% people that came in off the street that kind of want to have a good time too, right, and don't want to feel isolated or made fun of. And so my show, the first hour, you are, no matter who you are, you're gonna have fun at a comedy show. But I will say, at the end of that, I always do a little something for the Gutfeld fans. Like I always do like a Q&A, or I do a little segment where I do jokes I couldn't do on TV because they were too edgy or whatever. And so everyone kind of gets what they want. But I do feel like this new tour, a priority has been, this is stand-up, man. Like I'm a stand-up. And so it's cool that people are figuring out who I am and they're going to come to the show. But the show is for everyone, I would say. Like I'm not pitting people against each other. Like I don't know. I think politics is so divisive right now. It makes me sad. I have friends and even family who don't talk to me because I'm on Gutfeld. And I think it's silly. And I think we all essentially want the same things. We want our kids to be safe. We want health insurance. We want to make a little money. And so I try to prioritize the joke part as much as I can.
Well, JamieLissow.com for all the tour dates. And I understand you just got married. So congratulations. Looks like things are looking up.
Yeah, things are going all right. And if people don't remember my name, you can also go to GregGutfeld'sFriend.com to get the tickets. And, or RobSchneider'sFriend.com, whichever one you remember. Those are two actual websites that go to my website.
So it's JamieLissow.com, just in case you're having trouble spelling his name. But you probably you know him because of this whole story that he just told. And it's a pretty incredible story, Jamie. I wasn't really expecting it. I kind of got, like I said earlier, before we were talking, I was like excited to learn that you were in radio before comedy, and I was like, okay, this is great. Let me, we have something in common, and then whatever else came out of your mouth was a total surprise. So I think you need a Wikipedia page. You need a Wikipedia page for sure, because this is good stuff.
I'm going to get in there.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to get in there and
fix whatever they wrote about me. And I know it's always incorrect.
We'll see if this turns.
Well, great chatting with you, man.
Hey, man,
I really enjoyed it.
I hope this turns into my big. I hate to make it all about me again, but I hope this turns into my big break one day.
This could be it, man.
I hope so. Jamie, it was a real pleasure, and good luck the rest of the way. And thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the talk. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care, man.
Lowe's knows that more projects mean more tools. For a limited time, new and existing My Lowe's Rewards credit card members can get 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more, in-store and online. Don't wait to get the things you need. Get special financing today. Lowe's. We help. You save. Now through August 27th, choose 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more. Offer subject to credit approval and cannot be combined. Minimum monthly payments required. See store at Lowe's.com for details.